Now let's focus in our next session on the concrete local project, and very, very local, because here we are talking about cities, what happened at the level of city with climate finance, and seeing that change can also happen at the level of cities. There is really a project that will be presented as part of this session called Urban Leads 2 that is inspiring cities to have low emission strategy in place in Africa, in Asia, and also in Europe. So it's not only a north-south debate, it's really north-south, south-south, and south-north debate. So it's an exchange of really what can be done at the level of city and blended finance. A very inspiring, concrete example. The project in itself is taking shape in 16 cities. We have Bangladesh, Brazil, Colombia, India, Indonesia, Laos, Rwanda, and South Africa that are part of the project and are really doing together, designing together low-emission carbon strategy. So that's what we will see in this session, moderated by Georgia Rambelli, the coordinator of the Sustainable Resource and Climate Resilient team of ICLEI Europe, Local Government for Sustainability. And this association has been founded in 1990 and is a world-leading network of local and regional government committed to sustainable development. And she will have a panelist with people on the ground in both Rwanda, Germany, and India. So Georgia, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Cecile, and welcome everyone. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So our session, as already introduced, will focus on facilitating access to climate finance through effective multi-level governance. As mentioned by Cecile, my name is Georgia Rambelli, and I'm coordinating the climate policy and energy governance team at the European Secretariat of ICLEI Local Government for Sustainability. Our session today is organized by the Urban-led project, as already mentioned, looking into promoting and supporting and financing urban low-emission development strategy in emerging economies and least developed countries. Urban-led is funded by the European Commission, in particular the Directorate General for International Partnership, and is jointly implemented by UN Habitat and ICLEI. So for the next 45 minutes, it will be my great pleasure to accompany you through a journey of discussion and exchange on the role that a successful cooperation across level of governance can really play in facilitating not only the development, but also in financing and ultimately implementing low emission and resilient climate action in cities. So the unprecedented scale and scope of actions needed to tackle the global climate challenges that we are facing today leaves no question. We all need all hands on deck right now. So not only to raise ambition and commitment, but most of all to truly accelerate action across sector, but also across level of government and sectors and parts of our society. This is not only a challenge, but also a fantastic opportunity to drive forward a transformation that will influence our societies like never before. And this will be true from an environmental and economic, but also a social point of view. And we will touch upon all of this today. Local governments have a key role to play in meeting successfully the objectives of the Paris Agreement. They are not only acting as administrators, but also they can lead by example. They are not only service providers to the communities that they serve and represent, but can also catalyze action and drive innovation. And we will hear a few examples of this today. Nonetheless, unfortunately, they are still facing a few challenges, and access to funding remains one of the key ones that they are still trying to tackle. And in particular, they can separate the actions that they plan and the strategies that they develop from implementation. Even if in recent years, significant strides have been made in securing access to climate finance, financial institutions continue to flag how they have difficulties in identifying fundable projects, while cities are still struggling with designing the high-quality projects and programs that are needed to go close to bankability. The ability of mobilizing private finance also continues to unfortunately be limited. Limited knowledge of different funding schemes available, but also the extensive capacity that is often required to pull together and to manage different funding sources are some of the key challenges the cities are still facing. So with this in mind today, we want to discuss with you all how, by improving the existing framework and by better harmonizing national and local priorities, while also improving cooperation with the private sector and the community, cities can truly scale up implementation of climate action and improve access to the much needed technical and financial support and capacity that is needed. So as we would like the audience to be part of this discussion from the very beginning, we would like to also invite you to exchange with us throughout the entirety of the session and to post your question, your thoughts via our Slide.O platform. You can join us, as I mentioned, via Slido, and you can share the code EDD to join us and select China's number 2. And to get acquainted with the tool itself and to start with the exchange, we would like to right now already start by kicking off our first poll of the day, just to feel a little bit the temperature for the room. And we have a first question for all of you, a very simple one, but just to get us started. We would like to know in particular, where are you joining us from? So please tell us from which part of the world you are connecting today to give us a better impression of also who we are exchanging with today. So while we are exchanging and we are learning a little bit from where you are joining from, I would like to also have the opportunity to share with you a little bit what our journey will take us through today in terms of a discussion. So as you can see on the agenda that should be displayed very shortly on the screen, your contribution via Slido will feed into a series of rounds of discussion that we plan to have today. And we foresee in particular to discuss with you, is working across level of governments a useful tool, or is it rather a constraint? Does it help in access financing? And we also would like to discuss with you what innovative solutions in cooperation with the private sector and the community are already existing out there, and how can they be used to accelerate the implementation of our action on the ground. So I believe that our first answers to the polls are slowly starting to come in. I will ask the colleagues if it's possible to please see some of the answers that have been shared, just to get a feeling from where people are connecting with us from. And while we have the answers being displayed, I would also like to comfort you and to let you know that, of course, we will not be alone in this journey of discussion today. It will not just be me and you in the audience, but we will have a wonderful panel that will join us to help us navigate what the successful multi-level cooperation looks like and how can it be effectively channeled to unlock financing in support of local action. So it is my great pleasure to welcome to our virtual stage 3 speakers. So first of all, Silvia Caulera. She's a project analyst and specialist at FONEWA, the Rwanda National Fund for Environment. So the Rwanda Green Fund, FONEWA, and Silvia will tell us a little bit more about it very shortly, was developed with the purpose to be the engine of green growth in Rwanda, and in particular to provide technical and financial assistance support to the best public and private projects that align with Rwanda's commitment to a green economy. In addition to Silvia, we will be joined by Mr. Shishi Srivastava. He is the Deputy Commissioner of the Gwalior Municipal Corporation in India. The Gwalior Municipal Corporation is responsible for civil infrastructure as well as all the administration of the city of Gwalior. Is working on a variety of very interesting smart cities projects, and we will hear about a few of them today, but is also managing a very innovative revolving water fund that not only makes finance available for meeting the capital costs, but also ensures the ownership and participation of the community in the execution as well as in the operation and maintenance of this specific water scheme. So welcome also to Mr. Srivastava. And then last but not the least, we will be joined by Matthias Wohlfahrt. He is the head of the Plucklima Fund in Hanover, Germany. And the Proclima Fund, through a series of knowledge and grants, is really supporting climate protection in Hanover, providing a series of funds and support to really foster and to support energy efficiency projects, awarding not only these funds because of their merit in terms of energy efficiency, but also looking into criteria such as absolute CO2 reduction, but also multiplier effect that these projects can have, and then finally, of course, the degree of innovation that these measures can bring on the ground. So both environmental, social, and economic impacts. So we would like to start by hearing a little bit from each one of our speakers, and in particular, a little bit of your thoughts and experiences on what does multi-level cooperation, a successful one, look like, and how can it be used as a tool to truly unlock financing for local action. So I would like to start maybe with Matthias and maybe give you the floor to start us off with your experience, Matthias.
So thank you for the invitation. I'm very proud of this. And yeah, what is multi-level governance for us? I think it's a very theoretical term for me, and that does not really play a big role in my work. But in this case, we practice it. We practice multi-level governance and multi-level work, I think. Proclima is a municipal climate protection fund in Hanover, and we have 5 other surrounding municipalities giving money to the fund, and in this case, in this area we work. And our main mission is to support local citizens and institutions and companies to invest in climate protection measures, especially energy efficiency and renewable energy applications. And we work mainly with own funding programs and support information campaigns and quality assurance to meet the funding conditions. So our yearly funding budget is about 3 million euros. That's very good for a middle community in Germany. And we also use the nationwide institutions and funding institutions like the KfW bank or the BAFA institution, and we doubling the effect of funding and the deepness of retrofitting. So we work as a municipal supporter, we work as a nationwide model and enhances and reinforces national climate protection targets. And with this, we go in the multi-level governance process, and our subsidies measures are closely geared to the nation funding programs. So we also made EU Horizon 2020 program projects and to develop local campaigns and projects, and so we multiply with our best practice to others.
Thank you very much, Matthias. Maybe one question that I would have is, we talked a little bit about multi-level governance and how this is looking like for you in your context in particular. What do you think are the main challenges that you have faced throughout this year, especially at the very beginning of this fund, in engaging in particular the private sector, but also in having some buy-in from the cities?
I think the starting of the founding of the fund was very interesting, and you need many support from many actors on the local municipalities, but you also need support from ministers or something personalities to support this funding idea. And the help comes also from the Lower Saxony Ministeria to support this idea in Hanover. And yeah, you need the networks, and especially we depend on the objective that we have a municipal energy supplier in Hanover, which gives the most money to the fund year in the year. So it's a kind of networking with the players on the local area, on the local scheme.
No, thank you very much for telling us a little bit more about how this has been working also with the support of other levels of government. Maybe thinking about also your experience, should there be any other city connected here with us today, would you recommend them to explore something like a Proclima fund for their own context? And what would you tell them to do as a first step in order to set up something that is successful, like the one that you are experiencing in Hanover?
I think it's a question to me. Okay, I think the advantage of a public-private partnership as a ProClima is that we are a reliable tool over years. We are independent from legislative periods in the municipality, and so we give money over years on a longer period to the people. And the second part is that we give also economic support. Every euro we spend on funding go to 13 euros investments in the local area, and so it's also best case for the community to get the money back over taxes and something else. So you have different levels on the funding scheme. You have the ecological level, and you have also an economical level and an advantage of funding models.
Thank you very much, Matthias. I'm sorry that I keep on picking on you, but I think your example is wonderful. Maybe from my point of view, I have one more question. One of the things that comes across very often when we talk about cooperation across different parts of the world is really that there is no silver bullet when it comes to approaching different types of solutions that can be implemented on the ground. Now, thinking about your specific experience, one of the aspects that I would like to understand better about is how much the social and economic impact that these projects can have has helped the city in defining which one should be the project that should be selected. And what did you feel that the community thought about this type of projects that are funded until now?
So I get a question. I have to understand the question right. I think we give many support to the communities with best practice examples. So in the first case, you start with beacon projects. So we give funding for beacon projects, especially passive houses in the region. And it's very important to develop know-how, especially in the building sector. And so we have to start with something, and incentives are especially for these beacon projects very important. And you can learn from these projects, and you can implement the processes, and especially know-how for the projects.
Thank you very much. I would like to see if there is any question coming in through Slido. I don't know if the colleagues can help us in trying to assess that. I also understand that unfortunately we seem to have a few challenges in connecting with the colleagues from Gwalior and from Fonerwa. So hopefully they will be able to join us quite soon. Is there any question coming in for Matthias on Slido? Maybe while we are waiting for the question and for the colleagues to be able to join, I can share a little bit of the experience that we had in particular between the city of Hanover and the cities that are part of the urban-led project. So you have already heard from the very beginning of our session how urban-led has this specific angle of trying to include as much as possible the possibility to have a global north, global south exchange, but also a south-south exchange and a north-north exchange, so that we truly can learn from one another worldwide. And one of the things that was the most interesting when learning from the experience of Hanover in particular for the other city is this type of pact that the city has been able to create with the major industries and the major services and private sector stakeholders in the area to really further a more joint and collective strategy to reach these objectives that the municipality has in terms of its own climate and energy development. This is something that has widely inspired also the colleagues from other parts of the world and in particular has been of inspiration to a few of our cities that have participated from Latin America, where, for example, Recife has been trying to also replicate a little bit on their own way this type of partnership and this type of collaboration. And also, of course, to be of inspiration to some of the colleagues in Indonesia in particular, where, for example, some of the cities, such as Bogor, have started really looking into the possibility of having this type of partnership also with their own situation and with their own stakeholders on the ground. So maybe I would like to ask the organizers if we managed to solve some of the issues that we had from a technical perspective and having our other two speakers joining us. Otherwise, I'm afraid, Matthias, you will continue to be my partner in crime for today while we try to really sort out a little bit what the challenges are. Maybe one question from my side, since I also expressed already how the idea of our project was to also not only talk about what the challenges for low emission development are in emerging economies and developing countries, but also to see what the gaps still are in the global north. Can you tell us a little bit also on not just what has worked, but also what hasn't really worked that well so far when it comes to funding and financing climate action in Hanover?
So, ProClima was funded in 1998. It's over 20 years ago, but now we are in a period that is very important for climate protection. We have not enough time for 1.5 degree targets, and so ProClima comes more important than ever. And at the municipal level, we do plans on 2035 and plans on 2050. So on a municipal level, you have only 3 tools. You have incentives given to citizens and institutions. You can demand something, and you can give consulting to the people. And we work on the 2 levels, consulting and subsidies and funding to support the local targets on climate on carbon neutrality. And so that's the point of ProClima at the moment. In former times, 20 years ago, it was a question of I think it's the word least cost planning, or the think least cost planning, and the least cost approach was to think about do we have to invest in power plants, or do we do efficiency on the citizen level, on the consumer level. And ProClima was one of the in this case they think about to found ProClima to support energy efficiency. And at the moment, we have also the same questions. Do we invest in new renewable energy plants, power plants? We have a very big district heating in Hanover with a big coal power plant, and they deal with stopping the coal power plant in the next 5 years at the moment. And there's a very strong discussion running on, and ProClima is also in this case a very important tool to bring renewable energy in the district heating nets and to support this, and also support this with the consumers. So there are new things, and we support also with this the targets on the municipal area.
Thank you very much. Maybe I would like to ask you, you mentioned right now the issue related to, of course, energy efficiency, and I understand that this has been very much also the core of the conversation that you, and the support that you have provided through ProClima so far. But unfortunately, even though we don't have the colleagues on the line here, I speak a little bit also knowing the context that they are facing. one of the key issues is that very often, rather than issues related to energy efficiency, they also have to face a lot of challenges around funding climate resilience action. So maybe my question to you would be, in your experience, would you say that also for Hanover, having the adequate possibility of develop good quality projects when it comes to resilience and adaptation to climate change has been more challenging than what concern, for example, mitigation? Or do you think this is a barrier that you have managed to somehow overcome?
You think you ask for the quality of projects?
Yes, in particular. Yes, I think in particular we discussing with all the cities that we've been supporting via the Urban-led project, we realize that especially when it comes to the global south, a lot of the challenges are around projects on resilience and adaptation. And very often, these are also not the most favorite, let's say, project, unfortunately, quite yet, for financial institutions to be supporting. So I wonder whether this is also something that you have found out in your own experience or not. And if you managed to overcome these challenges.
I don't know if I understand the question right, but very well. But I think on the scheme of quality, and do we support? We also support the qualities of deep retrofitting. The question of the climate protection targets is, how do we double the ratio of retrofitting? How do we do this? And we have 1% ratio, retrofitting ratio at the moment. We have to go on 2% ratio per year retrofitting rate, and that's very important. And you can also do, we can also speak about deep retrofitting, because we need also deep retrofits, not retrofitting at all with low quality. And ProClima stands for high quality. It's a point we couple our subsidy programs with the nationwide programs. The nationwide is a little bit with lower quality, and on the municipal, on the local level, we stand for deep retrofitting, and we give more subsidies for deep retrofitting. That's the point. If I understand your question right, to the quality scheme.
Thank you very much. I understand that unfortunately we still do not have the colleagues on the line. I believe that our colleague Sylvia managed to connect, but as far as I understand, she's not able to, unfortunately, use her microphone. Therefore, maybe I would suggest that we go back to the main room and ask if maybe Cecile or the colleagues on the line there have any question for myself, or maybe also for Matthias.
Yes. Do you hear me if I talk?
Yes.
Okay, very good. No, thanks a lot, Georgia, and also for the experience on energy efficiency. Very important, interesting. It's a pity we don't have the other two speakers. Let's see, maybe they will join. I had a question maybe on, and you mentioned it, about, because this project I really like, on the ground for consumer, and also to raise the awareness of consumer, in this case about energy efficiency and the importance in investing at the level also of consumer. What are the main barriers do you face in that? How you see you make progress in really raising this awareness and getting to a fact that it really comes? I mean, we see that a lot of young generation are really eager and have a great understanding of all the green dimension. I mean, do you really see that in the city, or what are still the sort of loopholes coming from really the population in Hamburg?
I don't know, Matthias, if you want to speak from your experience. Otherwise, I'm happy to also contribute a little bit with the experience for some of our cities worldwide. I think in general, definitely there is a lot of interest coming from the society right now to really see, also in Europe, of course, how this Green Deal that we are all talking about can really materialize itself. There is a bit of a dichotomy potentially in some places still, where you have amazing ideas in terms of very ambitious and very important actions that can be implemented on the ground, but also that somehow they collide with what the reality of the matter is when it comes to implementation. I'm thinking about, for example, solutions around mobility, where you have to deviate traffic, where you need massive infrastructural work in front of your home. If you ask, of course, societies, are you interested to see more sustainable mobility on the ground being implemented? Everyone will probably echo with a very big yes, but sometimes it's very challenging also for cities to make sure that this happens in a way that is acceptable and understood and is also not too inconvenient for the population when it comes to the real life implementation. So I think this is one of the spaces where cities are increasingly taking the lead. They are not only thinking about ambitious actions and how they can implement it on the ground to really support in a complementary manner what also the member states in Europe, but also the countries outside of Europe are doing in terms of reaching the objective of the Paris Agreement, but also how to accompany their activity along this entire journey with proper consultations and with the engagement of stakeholders throughout the development of the action. So we are not seeing any more consultation after the plan is already done, but increasingly this idea of co-creating and participating together in shaping this policy and making sure that they are fit for purpose on the ground.
Matthias, maybe you have a comment also from Germany on this aspect, or?
So yeah, thank you for your question to the new generation. I think the new generation amplified the effects of doing something for climate protection, and especially the 2 years ago, we have a very strong discussion in Hanover about our local energy supply. At the moment we discuss with I think it's a building. We discuss about the district heating and how to support district heating with our coal plant, doing also electricity, but also is responsible for the district heating. It's very important for the city. And the Fridays for Future movement, they start a discussion about this, and they force the politicians in Hanover to do something, and we discuss about stopping the coal plant in the next 5 years. And I think there is a very strong amplifying effect on this movement and on the local area, on the municipalities.
Thank you, Matthias. I think, Georgia, we have enough bombarded Matthias with a lot of questions on his experience, and I think this was very interesting. Unfortunately, we could not have this north-south debate. It was much more of your experience in Germany. I mean, sometimes technology is great, but sometimes it's just more difficult and unpredictable. So we are there, and it's a pity that we didn't get the experience from India and also Rwanda. But I mean, I'm sure people who are watching that can go back to your projects. There's a lot of information also on your project online, and get a glimpse already of what you're doing and the challenges and how you make that reality really happen at the local level in coordination with the different also level and the different governance needed. So very important session on the how we work together, how we consult, how we make this become a reality in the city. It was very insightful to hear from you. So thanks a lot for your contribution to this session, and we will close a little bit on time, so I guess we will make a break now and reconvene for the next session, where we will go back to the European DFI for a stand interview. But I think we'll have now a short break, and we'll be back very soon in the studio. Thanks, Georgia. Thanks, Matthias.